Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been feeling constantly burnt out lately, or you're severely lacking drive, or finding it completely impossible to focus on a single task for more than a few minutes, I just want to say you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're going to walk through a concrete step-by-step blueprint to literally cure modern burnout. We're doing a full 7-day brain reset to help you completely reclaim your mind and, honestly, your life.
But to really grasp how this reset works, we have to ground ourselves in this fundamental rule of science. You probably remember this from high school physics, right? Energy cannot be created and it cannot be destroyed. It only transfers from one form to another. Keep this in the back of your mind throughout our entire explainer today, because it seriously changes everything. When you feel a massive lack of motivation or just extreme laziness, it isn't actually a lack of energy. You have perfectly good energy. The real problem? Your energy is leaking out into all the wrong places.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our 7-day roadmap. First, we'll tackle the physical energy leak. Second, curing the zombie mind. Third, escaping the overthinking trap. Fourth, building the deep work advantage. And finally, achieving a silent mind.
Section 1. The Great Energy Leak, Plugging the Physical Drain. Let's be real for a second and think about your own daily drive. How often do you sit down to work on a major goal only to find that the passion and fire you used to have is just, well, gone? You feel totally drained before you even type a single word. Now, this isn't random. It's the result of a massive physical energy leak that modern society has just sort of completely normalized. And that brings us to step 1 of our 7-day reset, addressing misplaced sexual energy. In the traditional framework of the body's 7 chakras, the lowest one is the Muladhara, or the root chakra. The primary function of this energy center is to drive your natural creativity and that intense, laser-like focus. When you constantly waste sexual energy, particularly through excessive habits like pornography and masturbation, you violently disrupt this root chakra. Your drive literally cools down, your enthusiasm vanishes, and that vital creative force simply leaks away. That's exactly why a 7-day NoFap challenge is the absolutely crucial first step to physically retain your energy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world power of that concept. Just look at the classic book, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, it took 25 years of rigorous research to write. The author interviewed 500 millionaires to figure out their ultimate secret to success. And the most common shared trait? They actively practice sexual energy transmutation. They absolutely refused to waste their biological drive. Instead, they conserved it and redirected that intense, raw energy right into their businesses, their focus, and ultimately their wealth. So let me ask you a serious question here. Why is it that the very second you sit down to study, read a book, or do any kind of meaningful work, you instantly get bored, stressed, or just feel your mind immediately start to wander? Why is our collective quality of sleep and patience dropping so drastically compared to, say, previous generations who could happily spend weeks reading a single novel?
Which brings us to Section 2, Curing the Zombie Mind, Stopping the Digital Drain.
The answer to that question lies in our second major energy leak. We've essentially developed what I like to call the zombie mind, which is heavily fueled by toxic social media algorithms and an endless loop of mindless scrolling. We are literally throwing our mental energy into a digital black hole. Check out this number, 8.4. According to a 2015 study by Microsoft, the average human attention span has plummeted to just 8.4 seconds. To put that into perspective for you, a goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. Crazy, right? Just 15 or 20 years ago, our attention span was around a full minute. When you sit there scrolling through short videos and skipping ahead the split second you aren't perfectly entertained, you are actively practicing distraction. You're training your brain to lose focus every 10 seconds. Your mind isn't a dustbin for random content, yet we treat it exactly like one.
So the crucial point here is that you must reset your algorithm. This is step 2 of our 7-day plan. You can't just rely on willpower for this. You actually have to change your digital environment. Create a brand new account if you have to. Unfollow the models, the gossip, the negativity. Follow only 10 to 12 highly productive creators or pages that represent the person you want to become, and engage purely with positive educational content. You have to teach the algorithm to feed your brain high-quality fuel instead of straight-up garbage.
Section 3. The overthinking trap. Curing mental masturbation.
Once we finally plug those physical and digital leaks, we have to look inward at a massive internal drain, the trap of endless rumination. Did you know that the average person has over 60,000 thoughts every single day? 60,000! Just think about how much raw energy that consumes. We spend our days either obsessing over an unchangeable past or totally stressing out about an imaginary future. And science actually shows that the more you overthink, the lazier you feel. Your literal physical energy is being actively depleted and leaked out into the ether in the form of 60,000 completely useless thoughts.
To fix this, you have to demand action from yourself. Think about it. Overthinking yields exactly zero output. It completely drains you and leaves you with nothing to show for it. Taking action, on the other hand, forces you right into the present reality. So for the next 7 days, whenever you catch yourself trapped in one of those thought loops, I want you to replace it with immediate action. If a thought is bothering you, write it down on paper. If you're super stressed, grab your phone and record a quick voice memo explaining it to yourself. Taking a physical action, no matter how small it is, instantly snaps your brain back to the present moment and totally stops the energy leak.
Section 4. The Deep Work Advantage. Rebuilding your focus battery. All right, now that we've stopped the energy from leaking out all over the place, it's time to gather it all up and forge it into an unstoppable weapon. We are going to rebuild your focus battery and give you what's known as the Deep Work Advantage. Look, everyone out there tells you that artificial intelligence or crypto or the metaverse is the future. But as highlighted in the incredible book Deep Work, those are really just tools. The real future, the most valuable and increasingly rare asset in our modern economy, is a focused mind. Because deep focus is being systematically destroyed in our society, the demand and the value for those who can actually concentrate is absolutely skyrocketing.
David Goggins honestly hit the nail on the head here. In today's world, it's easy to be great because everyone else is weak. I know, it sounds a bit harsh, but it's incredibly empowering when you really think about it. The entire world is out there actively practicing distraction. If you can just train yourself to sit down and focus intensely for 2 or 3 hours a day, you will instantly bypass half the world. You literally have a massive unfair advantage simply by not being distracted.
So here is your exact deep work blueprint to practice during this 7-day reset. First, physically remove your phone, turn off your laptop notifications, and unplug the TV. Second, set a hard timer for 60 to 90 minutes. And third, actually listen closely because this is the absolute most important part. Bind yourself to the task. Even if you get incredibly bored, even if you feel like tearing your hair out and quitting, you do not break the timer. You just sit there. You're actively training the muscle of concentration. And just like lifting heavy weights at the gym, it burns at first, but it makes you exponentially stronger.
Now, as we rebuild that laser focus, we also need to protect our raw cognitive power, specifically what's called our fluid IQ. This is basically your natural capacity to learn entirely new things quickly. Unfortunately, this naturally begins to decline after age 20 or 25. Bummer, I know. But you do have a shield. The two absolute best, scientifically proven ways to protect your fluid IQ are daily physical exercise and meditation. You have to keep your body moving to keep your brain plastic, healthy, and adaptable. Finally, Section 5. Achieving a silent mind, the ultimate state of energy. Okay, so we've conserved our physical energy, we've carefully curated our digital intake, stopped the overthinking, and built up our focus. Let's tie this all back to our opening rule. Energy simply transfers. When you finally stop wasting your energy on endless scrolling, overthinking, and physical depletion, that energy doesn't just disappear. It builds up. It literally accumulates inside you. And when you reach a state of zero thoughts, a truly silent, peaceful mind, you unlock your absolute highest potential. Your creativity, your imagination, and your absolute control over your reality will reach a level you previously thought was completely impossible.
Now, what's really interesting about this is you don't need to retreat to a mountain cave to train for this silent mind. You just need simple, present-moment practices. When you eat, put the phone in another room and focus purely on the taste, the texture, and the smell of your food. When you go for a walk, don't listen to a podcast or music, just walk. When you speak with someone, look them right in the eye and be entirely there. Your mind will inevitably wander, that's normal. But every single time you catch it and pull it back to the present moment, you're essentially doing a mental push-up.
And look, this isn't just some trendy modern productivity hack. It's ancient, timeless wisdom. As the Bhagavad Gita states so perfectly, a person whose mind is in control cannot be disturbed and can achieve anything. Mastering your attention isn't just a clever trick to get a few more emails sent at work. It is an unbeatable superpower that brings profound peace and limitless capability to your life.
So, we've laid out the entire blueprint. You know exactly where your energy is leaking, and you now have the exact tools to plug those leaks and rebuild a laser-focused, silent mind. The only question left is, will you start your 7-day energy transfer reset today,
Or are you going to let another 60,000 thoughts drain away your potential? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.